Morning, Naomi here for hopefully another short video. And I thought this video would be on who's going to thresh the nation and the nations of the world, the kingdoms of the world. And we're told exactly who's going to do this. We're told it's the one that sits to the right hand of Christ in Psalm 110. And she's described in these passages as well. And we're going to try and link them all together. So we're just going to read them. And you can go and look these passages up for yourself. Because it also, I can't remember which passage, and I may come on again and do another short video that ties in with this at some point, that the remnant is identified as the daughter of Zion, clearly, once you are able to pull these passages all together, okay? The remnant, the glory of Israel, and it's these daughters of Zion who are your first fruits reborn, okay? So here we go. Who's going to thresh? Who's going to thresh the nations? Well, we have verses like this first, okay? In Habakkuk 3, verse 12, it says, "Thou didst march through the land in indignation. Thou didst thresh the heathen in anger." Isaiah 41:15, "Behold, I will make thee a new sharp threshing instrument, having teeth. Thou shalt thresh the mountains and beat them small, and shall make the hills as chaff." Isaiah 42:15, "I will lay waste the mountains and hills and dry up all their pools," it says, "and I will turn the rivers into islands and dry up the pools." Actually, it says, "I will dry up all their vegetation," in this version that I have wrote down here. Jeremiah 51:20 says this, "You are my war club, my weapon for battle. With you I shatter nations. With you I bring kingdoms to ruin." Jeremiah 51:33, "For this is what the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, says, the daughter of Babylon is like a threshing floor at the time it is trampled. In just a little while her harvest time will come." Now I'm going to pause here for a moment because men think it's them against a her. It's not. The one that's going to do the threshing is a her. And we're going to prove that here in a minute, okay? It's a her against a her. It's the righteous spirit against a whore spirit. And Adam chose a covenant with the whore spirit. That's why Christ came to die, so he could reclaim the righteous spirit for mankind, which was rejected in the very beginning. We've been discussing this in our videos. Daniel 2, verse 35 says this, "Then the iron, the clay, bronze, silver, and gold were shattered, and became like chaff on the threshing floor in summer. The wind carried them away, and not a trace of them could be found. But the stone that had struck the statue became a great mountain and filled the whole earth." Well, we discussed that in a prior video as well. We come to the understanding that that's Mount Zion. Now, we have these verses as well. We'll go to Micah first. We won't do that one. We'll do this one first. Well, no, we'll do that one first. Let's do Micah 4:8. 4:13. And this clearly tells us who's going to do the threshing, if you're paying attention. And if you go read all them other passages, it indicates clearly it's Zion, daughter Zion. So Micah 4 verse 13, "Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion." It's not men. Men wants to impose himself on this text. It's not men. It's like a woman trying to say, well, Christ was a woman. Well, Christ, male, vessel, is male. It has to be male. But the spirit that does the threshing, that takes out the whore spirit, is female, feminine. It has to be. That's how creation works. You have male representing the body, and you have female representing the spirit. Well, fallen Adam wants to keep that whore spirit in play because it exalts him as a king in the earth, but it also leads to his death, his demise, which we're told in Proverbs 9. It says, "Know ye not, her steps leads down to the gates of Sheol," to death, all right? And it says that her doctrine, and all through the scriptures, but in particular in Job, it says it tastes like honey on his mouth. You know, he don't want to let it go, but it's cobra's venom in his stomach. It's killing him. So who's going to do the threshing? Okay? We have an adversary, we righteous daughters, who stand for Christ. who stand for the positive aspects in this society that is still keeping it going, are the daughters that's gonna arise. We are representative of the righteous spirit, and there is one that will be identified as the righteous spirit, okay, and is the bride of Christ, and she sits to his right in Psalm 110. All right, it's not polygamy. Heaven never taught polygamy. If heaven taught polygamy, boy, we're in serious trouble, aren't we, girls? Heaven never taught polygamy. You know who taught polygamy? Fallen man did. Adam taught it because it tickled his ears. You know why men keep preaching this theology and they're up on the pulpit? Lucifer knew to keep men teaching that positive theology, positive to his ears anyway, it's going to keep her in play much longer. But to tell the truth, no, that's not going to work. So she puts men up on the pulpit teaching her theology, knowing that men's going to say, you women, you know, we can't listen to you, because that's what this theology actually teaches. I know that for a fact. I had men that wouldn't hear a word I had to say based solely on my gender. Shame on you. You limit God. You say God can't work through a righteous woman. Oh no. Shame on you. Shame on you. You need to grow up and go in and actually study the word through the Spirit and not through fallen man's theology. And Christ told you not to fall into this trap. He told you this over and over again. He said, do not be lured by the traditions of men. And lo and behold, you know, just look at the fact men wrote, translated supposedly, the scripture, and we end up with 3 males on 3 thrones. Come on. Clue in. God says my creation testifies to what the Godhead looks like. It's male and female. It's body and spirit. And if you can't understand that simple correlation just from the creation account, then you're in deep. I mean, what do they say? You've really drank the Kool-Aid, baby. And you absolutely refuse to listen to the Spirit's leading. So what does it say? Micah 4, verse 13. Sorry about that spiel. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron, and I will make thy hoofs brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto the Lord, and their substance unto the Lord of the whole earth. Wow. Look at that. Who's going to thresh? Who's going to thresh? Daughter Zion's going to thresh. That's who's going to thresh. And that's who's sitting to Christ's right hand, his bride, his spirit, his manifested spirit in the earth, and her army. Her army. Her and her birthright, her army. And her title is Lord of Hosts. She's the mother. With her hosts, with her children. What does Micah 5, verse 7 and 8 say? We read this in a prior video. And the remnant of Jacob, actually it should really be Israel. And the remnant of Israel shall be in the midst of many people as a dew, that's your doctrine, from the Lord, as the showers upon the grass that tarrieth not for man, nor waiteth for the sons of men. Verse 8, and the remnant of Israel shall be among the Gentiles, in the midst of many people as a lioness, yes, as an Ariel, among the beasts of the forest, as a young lioness among the flocks of sheep, who, if she go through, both treadeth down and teareth in pieces, and none can deliver. So that's daughter Zion rising up. I had some other things that I wanted to include on this. Let's go to Jeremiah, just to see what we might say there. Let's go to Jeremiah 49. Because I wrote this down because I apparently did want to say something about it. So, what does it say? Nope, that's not what I wanted. Is it 49? Maybe I wrote it down wrong. Okay, so 48 It is 48. 48, but it's not verse 3. 48 is all about the coming destruction of Moab. And if I remember correctly, and I'm not sure that I do, I believe that represents Saudi Arabia today. I'm not sure. But you know, if you go in and you read this chapter, it speaks about how these sons have been, you know, she's going to rip away the riches. That's what she says. She says, you who have built yourself up with riches, and you who have mocked my people, and I'm going to tear you down, and you're going to be left with nothing. And she says, let me see if I can find the verse right quick here. She says it's referencing in several verses here the destruction of the jars, of the vessels. They're called jars or vessels. She refers to these men as jars or vessels that are holding nothing but riches, gold, riches, material stuff that they built themselves basically up under the law with. She says, who filled themselves with riches. And it's Moab that's in view. And she says, I'll destroy these vessels, these jars. Oh, if I could find the verse. Sorry about this. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that. But if you go in and you read these passages, okay? You go in depth and you go in and you read every one of these chapters that I just cited here that has these verses in them. It says other things too. But Habakkuk 3, Isaiah 41 is a really good chapter to read. Isaiah 42 is another one. Jeremiah 51, Daniel 2, and Micah 4 and Micah 5. It's going to tell you that it's daughter Zion that threshes, and she's called the strong right arm of God. We've identified that in scriptures in passages like Isaiah 51, Isaiah 52, and Psalm 89. And you have to let the Spirit lead you and show you that that indeed is who is in view as the strong right arm of God, and in this case, Christ. And I also tend to believe it is daughter Zion, which is the second half of the Messianic Godhead that nobody wants to believe exists as a feminine. Because we women don't mean nothing. You know, we're just a rib hanging off the image of God, is what they've really placated themselves with in this false theology. When God tells you, and it's in here, all right? It's that your eyes have been, you know, you've got clay over your eyes because they've put it there through fallen theology. If you go in and you begin to study and you take fallen theology away, you just completely remove that out of your vessel. You just say, okay, that's not where, this is my stepping off point, is not current theology. My stepping off point is that I'm going to let the Spirit lead me. That means I'm going to erase the board, I'm going to empty myself of everything I think I know, and I'm going to let the Spirit show me the truth, all right, that's in here, okay? And I'm going to open my eyes to catch words that don't add up and things that just, you know, I come to realize that the hid are the daughters of Zion, and they're hid in amongst the Gentiles as these lioness were hid. That's the group that's in view in Psalm 83, my hidden ones. Her hidden ones are Israelite daughters who's hid out amongst the fields of the Gentiles, but they're these daughters of Zion, and they're the remnant that's left of Israel. All right, and we discussed that birthright of Isaiah 49, and how these daughters pick up the birthright of the Gentiles after she was cast out and rejected by the men of Israel. They didn't want her. They didn't want a covenant with her. And so anyway, I know that's a messed up video, but I hope you get something out of it. We know it's the daughter Zion that's going to do the threshing. And that means she's going to have to step up. Oh, and I started to say Isaiah 17. Who is this that cometh from, where is it? Let's look at it right quick here. And they'll say it's Christ. It's not Christ. It's Christ in the sense that Adam was one. In the beginning, Adam was one. And so later, so he sets her out because he doesn't want a covenant with the woman that he was given in covenant. The spirit that came from within him, that was giving him life, and gave him the words of heaven, the laws of heaven. That was the spirit's job to do. He didn't want a covenant with her. So he sets her out and he renames her Eve. So whenever the name Adam pops up, it's really just symbolizing Adam, fallen Adam, and that whore spirit that he made a covenant with. It's no longer talking about Eve. Whenever that word Adam pops up, and it speaks of Adam who transgressed the covenant, it's talking about the man. It is. It's talking about the man and the whore spirit that he chose a covenant with. It's not talking about the woman who he renamed as Eve. All right? And I was going somewhere with that. But she's set out. So you have Adam and Eve. All right? And you come away with this ridiculous notion that Adam is just male. Well, he wasn't in the beginning, because in Genesis 5 it says their name was Adam, until he determined he didn't want a covenant with the righteous spirit. So he sets her out, renames her Eve, and that's why she's mother of all living. All right? Because she's the only thing that gives life to all things, is that righteous spirit. Okay? Now, Christ, if they're called Christ, they're one. Male and female. Body and spirit. So the second half of the Godhead is female, and she's called Christ too. But what they managed to do when the men translated the word is they removed all image of the feminine Messiah, which is the second half of the Godhead, Christ, and her name would be Christ. So she's the one, I believe, that's in view in Isaiah 17. Do I got the right chapter? Who is this that cometh from... Well, I got the wrong chapter. I can't remember what chapter that was now. But who is this that cometh from and have threshed? Just a second. Let me see if I can find it. The chapter. I'm sorry, folks. I may have to redo this. No, it's not there. I can't find it that quick. Oh, I used to have a better memory than this too, but I've got so much going on in my head. But it says, when she came from this location, I can't remember what location, if it was Moab, and she threshed that nation and these nations, she was alone. And it is talking about the daughter Zion there. And we know that that's who the wrath falls down through, is the daughter Zion that sits at Christ's right hand, because it tells us that in Psalm 110. And we're told that it is daughter Zion that does the threshing of the nations. And that is this mighty army of daughters that is spoken of in Psalm 68 and I believe 69 as well, when you read the chapters. But that's who's in view. Is that we're being reborn. You know, when Samson met the lion and tore it in half, whatever he did to it, it says the Spirit came upon him mightily. You see, we daughters haven't got the Spirit upon us yet, but when we do, look out, we're going to be lionesses. And I'm going to throw this in too right quick. You know, a few years back, there was an article that said 5 lionesses on this reserve in Africa was growing manes. And they were saying, well, it's because of the testosterone and all that stuff in their, in their bodies, and they were acting more like males and whatnot. You know what I think? I think that once we fell under law, they edited out. They were allowed under the laws of heaven, perhaps, to edit the genome in some way, and that meant editing out any evidence of the queen. And you know what I think? I think the female lioness always did have manes. I think they always possessed them. And I think the truth is starting to reassert itself, just like cows have always had horns. But they edited them out. They don't want you to see that. So it's all there. And you know, I was reading online, and you read these ridiculous comments about men, and it's always men trying to exalt themselves over women. And they'll say, well, you know, you can't blame women. They only have X chromosomes. They don't have Y. And they brag that Y up like it's something special. But you understand, Christ came through a woman. He did not have an earthly father. And the spirit that came upon him was female. He could only be birthed through the X chromosome, whether you know it or not. And so you can brag that Y up, and when you do your homework, the X holds 2/3 more genetic material, so that's what, roughly 33% more genetic information in woman's body alone, because she does carry 2 X's, and they claim the Y is getting smaller over time to the point that they think it'll be dead. And you know what? That goes right back to the garden, what Adam did. He pointed at the righteous spirit and blamed her for what he did. That's what he did. And they ganged up on her, and they set her up into this nice little trap so that she would look guilty. And so what do you think it's going to look like when we transform, when we have 33% more genetic material in our bodies to begin with? They call it junk DNA. Well, the 2 active strands, I guess, favors the male under the law. But we'll see what happens when the other 10 strands, which is also called your energy DNA. You know, if you want to go look up energy DNA, that's really fascinating information there. But for those men who thinks that Y chromosome makes them superior in some way, you better get a clue and go do some of your own research, because it does not make you superior. It does not. In a fallen world, under a law written by the hand of man in a horror spirit, yeah. But I wonder what the truth really is going to look like. If she's his power, and she's the way that he's going to thresh, then I'd say the picture looks far different when the truth is applied than the lies of man. So, there you have it. Daughter Zion's going to thresh. And I think you better get out of her way when she begins to do it. So, that's that. I hope you have a blessed day. May the Lord bless you all. Love my brothers and sisters. Hope the video makes sense. I rattled on there at some points. Nevertheless, I hope you have a blessed day.